I just started early. So.
He's one now. He's always sweat. And where are you? Yes, and probably nothing else.
So is that pretty typical turnout for a primary?
There's nothing else on the. Bed.
Yeah.
It's two districts, so yeah. So just district by district, right? Depends on the interest level.
Sure. And there'll be a lot of interest in April because Supreme Court, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the board, the school board,
Yeah.
yeah, there'll be a lot of.
and all of the districts that didn't have a primary.
Yeah.
So you'll be on.
I think what is it? Yeah, I mean, District 2 just says running unopposed.
Yeah, I just gotta vote.
Yeah, doesn't take many to win when you're unopposed.
Right. 468.
Yeah. And Nate's just got the fair.
Yep.
I think
So there's 3 contested districts in Washington.
I think the next forum that the AAUW is doing is going to be the 2, 4, 6, 8.
Yeah. And everybody's.
Yeah, 7 of us.
Is that at the library too?
Yeah.
School boards is there, MATC.
Oh, is it? Okay. Probably can hold one or one. Maybe just hold more. Or...
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Been in both. I'm not sure.
But
I wasn't sure. Like maybe when 6:30 rolled around, or 6:15-ish rolled around, and there was hardly anybody in the audience. It did. Yeah. Yeah, there's good civic interest. I thought the questions were all.
There's probably more people there than voted.
I think it's actually pretty equal. There's about 50 people. I was kind of concerned that some of the questions are going to steer off into a bit more philosophical or out of municipal level, but they did a really good job of being moderating. Questions.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to get through 10 questions with everyone doing a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
really fast though.
Yeah, I'm sure for you as a candidate, yeah. But...
Apparently they had mailed out the question list earlier, but it didn't open on my iOS. So a couple of people went in with like typed prepared statements. And I was like, so what questions are we getting tonight?
Probably sounded more natural then.
I did. I had to dust off the old PA training and my old debate experience to try to improv and try to get some messages. A little rusty,
But he.
Part of that being the training for public health emergency officers, is we do a lot of public affairs training.
Okay.
Message training.
That's a comfort for you. It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right. I wish that was true.
Okay.
That helped you.
Yeah. I'd love to chat with you more about your background sometime. Just it's so interesting.
You're having trouble following.
No, it's not boring. I think it's interesting. Hey, Jay. How are you?
I think the movie.
They don't need that person.
Yeah,
Maybe once a year.
voiceovers. Doesn't matter what it happens. It goes around for that.
When they do their year. But they tried it. Right after responsible. You might have known. I didn't think. And then I was you. No, and then this year they're not. No. Having some.
Is Christine going to join us?
She is. She'll be in person. Yeah, she was debating doing it from the road, but I think I convinced her that in person is. I always prefer people that are in person. You just can read people. Oh, really?
I'm excited about it.
Saying that we can,
I should see.
love that everyone's here so early. There she is.
Standing very well.
So every chair is still bucket stuff for the ones next to me. It's.
What does that say? What does that say about you?
Thank
Hello, come on in. We've got Lydia. I saw the Robin Kaufman posted photos of your place on. Yeah. I mean, she showed the picture of the food and now I'm really hungry.
I'm a fan of the big one.
Oh, yeah, that's what I always go with this. And then whatever those potato bites were that we had.
That's better.
Oh.
Then you told me, Mark.
I stopped by, but it was too busy, so we're like, well, it's a good problem to
That
have.
is, it was a Saturday.
Yeah.
We got flash mobbed both that.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Wow. But we were both like, this is a great problem to have, so.
Yeah, we all go there.
It was Wednesday. It's a flash mob frenzy.
But you had your advertising going because I could smell it on the parking lot. Yeah. Yeah, that's just like Burger King. Burger King purposely vents into the parking lot. See what?
Like Disney. So it's on it. Yeah. There's.
Just waiting for a chair.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking. He didn't tell me, but I was thinking maybe basketball. Adam, do you ref basketball too, or yeah? So how are things going?
I haven't done much this season. I basically just fill in with people.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Most that happens fairly often. Nothing's going on.
Yeah, but I try to keep it focused. Like, yeah, I get notifications from any place south of Green Bay.
Yeah, so you will
Like, no,
travel.
I'm sorry, I'm
right?
not
Oh,
tracking,
okay.
for your
What, how many
one day.
miles are like your, like you?
Well, really, so far, like I've helped freak out a few times. And, like that's about as that's as far as
you go. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I got. Well, Luther Prep is hosting a big tournament for
Hello, everybody.
younger grades, like 8th grade and below, in 3 weeks. So I, in a moment of weakness, agreed to do like 12 games in 2 days. It'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
primary
We were chatting about that earlier.
advancement. There you go.
Yeah. Saying it, just seeing the turnout and the number of people that came out for it for District 6, I was impressed. That's a lot to come out when there's nothing else on ballot.
Correct.
Pretty exciting.
Do you need any of the paperwork or anything? I brought.
I was gonna look it up when I have that, or was it
Anyone
looked up in my phone?
Anyone else need like an agenda or anything? Okay.
Awesome.
These are like just supplements when
Okay.
we get to it.
Is that here from Mr. Burke?
I didn't.
Okay. Meeting is running late. All right, it is 6 o'clock. We're already recording.
House, it is.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all for coming. Quick roll call.
think we,
Mr. Moss is here.
think we have everyone.
I think everyone except Mr. Berg, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, is Dave here?
Oh, Dave's not here, but he said he'd be here.
Wrong Dave, sorry.
AJ.
Dave said. he'd
Yes,
be
you are.
here.
So is anybody online?
Not yet.
Would any of the members of the public like to introduce themselves? Sure. Nice.
Welcome.
All right, we do have a quorum. Call the meeting to order. All right, item number 1, the approval of prior meeting minutes.
We'll move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Board,
Second.
second by Mr. Hume. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 5, opening for public comment. Would any of the members of the public like to say a few words? Okay. Is when is David gonna speak?
He's going to speak after Christine.
Okay, so that's somebody late.
What's that?
That's somebody late.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay, all right. Number 6. Town Square update presentation from Christine. Oh, Mr. Berg has joined us.
The presentation, I just wanted to give you guys some updates on what will be happening with the town square and events moving forward. Friday is my last day here with the city, so the events for the town square are kind of at this point up in the air. We, again, like I said in the last meeting, I've worked with Ministry to our Thursday night markets to Friday night. And so they will be taking that on for us. However, we have 5 music events that are in question. Currently, with Steph Jewel leaving, I was going to be taking on that role for the summer, which I was more than happy to do. However, with me not being in this role anymore, there won't be anybody within the department to take that on. Our department is pretty much stretched very thin the way it is. So we are looking for anybody within the community to step up and either partner with us on those music events, or I guess moving forward, you're gonna have a conversation with Mayor Stocks to find out what he would like to see happen with those 5 events. The department decided to keep the Kids Fest and Boo Bash, so we will be doing those. However, the music series is up for question. I just wanted you guys to all be aware, since the RDA worked very hard to get the square up and running and to have those types of events there. So I thought it was good idea to kind of let you in on where we're standing currently.
And Christine, we had a separate board that was overseeing the Benson Square, and that got incorporated into the Park and Rec as one of your functions with the Park and Rec to have that board function of oversight.
It's not actually they're not actually molded together yet.
No, I know, but that was the intent a little bit here. And now that because of your leaving is going to put all that up in the air for discussion. So, yeah, you did a very, very, very good job in the duties you had, and we were giving you additional responsibility for all the right reasons. And then to have you leave puts a lot of pressure on a lot of existing boards and people to make up that. So I'm disappointed, but you have good reasons for obviously moving. So I appreciate that.
Any other events at risk?
No.
When you made the comment about members of the community, somebody from the member of the community stepping up, did you have anything in mind?
I do, but that is gonna take some work, so. Yeah, not quite sure how that's gonna,
Sure.
so I was trying to get everything kind of buttoned up, obviously, before this meeting, it didn't happen.
Recommend, well, you only have till Friday, right? I'm sure you've probably already connected with tourism and Main Street and Deb and, making sure that the chamber. Making
They're
sure-
aware.
Making
They're
sure the
aware.
four main groups are aware and all working together. And then
Yeah.
you can kind of make sure you keep that communication line open so everybody picks up what they can pick up, I guess would be the thing. But on behalf of the RDA, congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you.
And wish you well. Thank you very much.
Job well done.
Yes.
I would like to echo that sentiment too, and that well done, Christine. Thank you for your work.
If you guys don't have any other questions, everything will be directed as far as events. To Robert for now, since I don't have anybody to fill that.
Sure.
Fill that spot.
Anybody have anything else for that topic?
Appreciate you coming in person.
Yes, thank you very much.
All the best to you, Chris.
And if anybody doesn't
Someone
know,
else.
like I'm going to Nina, which is 17 minutes from my house. So for all of everybody's awareness, like,
Fill in the gaps.
yes, yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine.
I got I'm sure there are many similarities to Nina and Watertown, so I'm sure I'll fit right in. But thank you so much.
Yeah, Riverfest.
Yes, I will be back for sure.
All right. Next item. Reflection on Main Street. Mr. David Poppy is here from Large to give us a presentation. Do we need the lights off, David?
I don't know. We'll find out in a second.
Might interfere with your mouse individual.
Just out of curiosity, are the members of the public online able to view this or no?
Yes, because we have,
Well, you have to-
no,
you have to- you
yeah,
have to
you
share
have to
something.
log in. Share the
Yeah.
screen.
That's fine.
Um, mhm.
Any members of,
I could,
is this shareable after it's over with?
Yes,
Any members of the community?
it's in the meeting materials.
I'm talking about the actual presentation.
yeah,
Yeah, it's actually in the meeting materials.
Okay.
Yeah, they can access it online.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, if you go to the city website right now and go to the
Yeah,
minutes
sure.
and meeting agendas page
Yeah, they
and go to
have
today's
something.
meeting, it's in the meeting materials.
A good question.
All right.
Do you want me to answer slides for you?
Jagger's got the mouse click.
All right.
There, hopefully.
Okay.
He's already one ahead of me.
All right.
Good evening. Many of you know me. I'm David Poppy. My intention for this speech tonight is first and foremost, the downtown businesses in our downtown are beautiful. They're great. They're essentially needed in our downtown, and this is not directed towards any one of us. And so this is directed towards my experience and what I have observed and the difficulties that I'm having with my building and my concept of understanding the city and how it's currently being used. And so please take it at that and not for any direction of what's going on down there with our current businesses. So I'll just start. I wrote this so that I don't get too fast and start talking where I should not. So a couple years ago, I bought the 107 East Main Street here in downtown Watertown. I put together a presentation for you this evening due to some of my observations that I've had in the past year and a half with the city. Some good, some could use some work. One of the most difficult things that we can do as a person is self-reflect on our actions and decisions that we make. My hope this evening is to graciously help show the city how self-reflection is vital in the growth and sustainability in a city. I started putting together a concept on what my building would be, not only to serve this community, but to my belief would be something that would fit this city and building very well. With every project, there's always certain codes, city regulations, understanding environments that you put in, whether it's household income or businesses in the area. competition, traffic flow, or simply what you believe the city may want is always the goal when you're going to invest in the building. Upon doing this and having my concept almost complete, I came into some issues, the biggest being parking. Last winter, February 2025, my kids and I took it upon ourselves to drive the downtown Watertown and make a detailed map of every parking stall. Some of you have seen this last year. And so I apologize if it's a repeat. And to better understand why there were so many empty buildings and square footage in our downtown, to make sure that my investment was warranted and not something that was based on something bigger. My results unfortunately showed that it was something bigger. I took this information that I was acquiring to then, at the time, Mason Becker, who was the economic developer for the city, and shared him my results, where I was handed a parking study from 2022, to which I read and noticed right away. It used information from a 2018 study for some of its data. After I found this 2018 study and seen my numbers matched with parking slots available, the one biggest discrepancy I had was future usage. Further looking at this, I noticed they collected data 3 different times, noted here, and all 3 times there was events going on downtown. But the more interesting ones are that Main Street was shut down for a parade. No parking signs were dispersed to the downtown. And somehow 35% of the spots were occupied while shut down. When it was open, while it was open during trick or treat, 33% were used. So it was used less when open. Now let's refer to the 2021 study. The streets were open and the emphasis was on parking lot usage, where it showed there was an average 80% full in zone C and D, but 55% on street. But that 55% was based off of 2018 numbers as they staffed in parking lots in 2021. Only in parking lots, and only observed the parking lots in 2021. Keep in mind the dates picked at this time were not state functions, but instead were during Summerfest and Country Thunder, the biggest events in Wisconsin. I struggle to see how this could possibly be accurately reflecting parking usage during a normal business day in Watertown. It recommended the city do a business-to-business evaluation for their entire downtown to fully know the impact future build-outs of their vacancies would cause. I presented to the RD my business-to-business evaluation back in May in 2025, which was also recommended I do so by the study as well. I think he's caught up there. The focus on Zone C in the 2018 study seemed to be directed to developments on the North First Street parking, exclusively called out in their reports, where it stated developing here would directly impact the 2 restaurants and increase parking storage in this area. I think you can click a couple more. There. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. There was a lot of mixed signals and misinformation that I was being displayed to my efforts to want to invest in the city. I decided to conduct a study on downtown Watertown back to its infancy to truly understand why we are at where we are today. And my presentation tonight is to hope some of these interesting things that I found along the way can help members of you tonight to hopefully be able to make your decisions on this later. The part of this presentation of the history of Watertown is my opinion on the research that I've discovered on what some of the problems that we seek as a city now are because of its early growth. Click a couple. Keep going. Okay. An interesting tidbit. I did some research just yesterday. I don't know if many of you know, but in 1836, there was 22,000 people in the state of Wisconsin. Well, the state of Wisconsin consisted of Iowa, Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Wisconsin in 1836. There was 22,000 people. In 1838, there was 18,000 people when the state of Wisconsin became a state. So when I start reading some of these numbers to you, I just want to say on how Watertown began and why I think we're having issues today. So around 1850, Watertown was growing fast, as it was described by investors from New York, faster than Rochester, New York, and it indeed exceeded infrastructure faster than Rochester, New York. The river was providing and also believed it would be the future epicenter of commerce and pedestrians coming into the city. The population was doubling year after year, with the vision being the greatest central trading hub around. The majority of the downtown Keep going.
I can hear him clicking.
Small crack. There we go. The majority of the downtown. Here. The majority of the downtown was built in the first 5 to 6 years. Everything east of the river past 4th Street. The first 7 years, council meeting minutes were littered with how they can store building materials on lawns, how they can deliver things to the buildings to build them, and where they did not interfere with commerce going on in the city at that time. It was a booming time with 2 brick plants that were making bricks by thousands to keep up the demand of buildings going up in the downtown. 40 to 60 buildings went up in the downtown during that period. This was now starting to make sense on why our downtown is so compact. This wasn't just a main road that was developed for travelers as they went past the destination. This was the destination, the place that all went, the place that all were told to come as the Germans got off the ships in the harbors at New York. It was elaborate. By the late 1920s to 1950s, extreme congestion, once the automobile was introduced in meeting minutes, were littered with parking issues from street parking to removing parks for parking meters and heavy parking restrictions throughout the entire downtown by the 1950s. Because the introduction of the automobile with every meeting minute was littered with parking concerns and downtown until eventually 1968. I believe the downtown was at its peak. Click one more time. So this is a picture of what it looked like in the 1920s, 1950s, how compact and how busy it was in the downtown. Which you all may have seen, but I always thought in this picture was that it was people that was coming here to visit Watertown. I didn't realize it was actually people that were already here in Watertown. And so I thought that was interesting because I looked at this picture quite a bit. So Watertown in 1968 had 205 businesses in the downtown. Right now, there's around 150. The documentation that I found in my building showed me that in 1968 to 1969 were some of the end years of the upper tenants, which started to make more sense. There's that. Are you clicking or is
Yeah.
Thank you, John. As I kept digging more and more, talk of parking concerns in the downtown started getting more and more rampant of business owners stressing to the city how much parking needed to happen in their downtown for businesses to survive. Mayor Benson at the time, 14 aldermen, actually was 13 aldermen. One was 6, so otherwise I think it would have been 14. And the editor of the Watertown Daily Times were in agreement in 1967. And I think that's especially important because to have an editor of a paper actually make a comment that is suggesting an opinion with something versus sitting back is extremely important. And he made that decision in the article and put it right in his paper that he was in strong agreement that we need to fix the parking in Watertown.
What year is that?
This was in 1968. We need to park in the down too much of the city along with 3 other parties in a multi-building real estate transaction with parking stipulations in a contract in order to open up parking lots to fulfill these needs, including some moving their bank to a place where parking was more abundant in the downtown. Main Street was also being ripped up in 1967 with new sewer lateral lines and devising a plan on beautifying the downtown and also creating more parking. The emphasis that the city took on understanding every business's plan and what they needed with their surveys. They used money from their parking meter fund, including other tax dollars, to perform parking studies to hire outside consulting companies to give them direction on what could be done. The determination after that research was a parking ramp for all the businesses at that time were in agreement, and having dispersed parking lots in the entire downtown would short-term assist the parking requirements needed by the businesses, but would detour future growth to confuse on having to find the parking lots after driving by their businesses that they wanted to go to downtown. Having a permanent parking area that was well posted, that everybody knew where the parking was at, was better service for our future customers of the city. The city spent over $22,000 on research and appointed committees to conduct the surveys. Soil border testing were done, engineers, and at the end of 6 months had a fully furnished concept on 3 ideas and builds that would accomplish what they needed and a permit in hand to build by the DNR. The only thing stopping them was 14 aldermen that sat on the board. Unfortunately, due to the delays that were happening within city government, you can probably click a couple more there. Some of the delays by city government. I got here. Within the city government, due to delays that were happening, the harassment claims being tossed around and by the past and present mayors that were fighting amongst each other publicly in the newspaper over money believed to be used, and the city's attorney that was giving them not accurate information. The aldermen changed out because their term was up, and now new aldermen were now in place to vote on this ever so important determination that our downtown needed. And unfortunately, all the men that were once in favor of this now had new faces and came down to a 2/3 vote, and they came up one short. And aldermen spoke up before the meeting and wanted a silent vote taken, so others were not impacted on voting down the line because that motion was turned down by council. After that vote, something interesting on this article that was that the businesses in the city that had gotten together to produce this property for the parking ramp happened to be the North Street parking lot. And after that vote, it had been denied. It was determined that this parking lot remained for the downtown, as even though it wasn't enough, it was still more than what they had, and it was to remain in place. Now, I find this very interesting because the city was going to build on this lot, and to my knowledge, might still be building on this lot. And as much as I agree, it would be an excellent property for new business development, we need to have a plan on how to address the parking first before we give up that parking storage to do so. Watertown is a great city to go backwards. The responsibility that you have as a city of Watertown is something that needs to be a selflessness act, knowing that the decisions that you make are not designed to impact us now, but to impact us for the future. 55 years ago, the people that sat before us made a decision that who knows how it could have altered the city. Who knows how it could have changed things that have taken place today? What opportunities were lost along the way? It faded more and more in the papers. And I ask no more than ever, the city needs a plan that I have been asking for on how they're going to address their downtown for future development that goes much deeper than buildings just having to be developed. It drives right at the infrastructure of the downtown itself. If we don't come together and figure this issue out now, especially with our downtown Main Street getting ripped up in 2028, I feel based on past experiences that we could stumble again. We need to have a plan that we can carry forth to the next term in place so we as building owners and citizens of Watertown can help make that happen and be a part of. One that incorporates what we need, what we want, and what is the goal. The design of downtown needs to include what future development we need there to encourage investors and citizens of our city that we are not letting opportunity pass by. There has been other individuals besides myself that have come before the city and expressed their parking concerns in the downtown on why they are not developing in downtown. And maybe you just haven't heard about them, and that's the reason why. And that's the reason why progress isn't at the top of the list. This is part of the concern why I have this in front of you today, and in hopes that it starts a conversation again. What are your downtown needs for future growth? And why has it been sitting with over 120,000 square feet of empty space for the past 55 years? I believe that if we instead relying on developer to solve the answers of our city's future, we should have a plan and invest in ourselves. The reasons why people came to Watertown in 1847 are no longer the reasons why people come to Watertown today. We now are becoming a travel through town, and we have to act on that to ensure we remain attractive and keep the history that made us relevant. We have a lot of great successful businesses in our downtown, but also have a lot of hidden beauty. We should invest in Watertown, listen to them, but not only learn from our past businesses that have been here and why they left, focus on what we can control and how we can as a town self-reflect on our past history to make changes that accommodate for the future. The decisions that you make should not be made for our benefit now. They should be made for our kids' benefit. Every decision we make is based on their futures, not ours today. That's all I have. So thank you for having me. I apologize for the slides being a little slow.
Well, you
But,
had a good helper there.
Battery must have died.
Dave, what have you done on that first floor? You have that whole building, there's 4 floors there, but what about the first floor? What have you done to that?
I've done nothing to that.
Isn't there any ability to make something at least happen there?
100%, but I refuse to because I don't want to mess up parking for my neighbors, which I've already told them. Every business that goes in there will put pressure on the Bismarck's was already having parking issues at the time with the bridge being out. Introducing any more parking infrastructure down there and starting something would have just impacted them. And so I wanted to make sure that my plan can stay in place and I can wait for that to.
You can wait that long?
Yeah.
Well, you're an exception. Most people have, when they buy a building, they have financial pressures that make them want to, make something happen sooner than later.
I care about just more than just myself. So I care about my neighbors as well, and I told Bismarck that exclusively, including Paul Miller Building on his time, as on his side as well. That, because I know parking is an issue down there when I
Yeah.
did my research. And
The 75 plus stalls that are on First Street along the river that we didn't act on as far as development are largely there for that. That's only less than 2 blocks away for
Correct,
you.
correct.
I mean, that does get used, but it's got room available for people that could walk from there to your business.
But at that time, Ken, that was gonna be developed.
I know,
That was
but
gonna be
it's
developed,
not going to
that's
be
why
anymore.
I couldn't, well.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be. There's not an active intent to do anything right at the moment. We are respecting the parking needs of our existing businesses that are there. We want people like you to take risk and to at least start doing something with your building to make some money from your investment.
Well, I agree, but it's not just my building. All the buildings that are empty down with empty storefronts are having the same issues. You know, when you have businesses that are leaving and leaving in part of the town because of parking issues downtown. You know, that speaks volume as well. And so I'm kind of waiting for action to happen on the city's end of what they want to put forth in the plan. What they want to, what their action is going to be. Because I can't put millions of dollars into a building and have no idea what the city's plan is going to be. You know, what their plan is going to be if they're going to develop that lot in 2 years after I already have $1 million committed and they dump a bunch of stuff on there and now my parking's gone. I mean, I can't do that. That'd be horrible for me to invest in that.
It's true, but if your investment started and you had development occurring and you had demand for parking based on some level of activity versus inactive, you'd be helping to make the case for additional parking.
I don't think I'm here to make the case. I think that the history of what I presented,
Yeah,
and
you
the history
did.
of the newspapers have presented that case, and it's gone on deaf ears.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And that's why I made this evening, because in 1968, your downtown was full and they needed parking.
Right.
And when we have parking studies now that you've spent thousands of dollars on in the past years to give a vision of assumed parking pressures that are going to be in your downtown when you had them in 1968 and you had parking study done in 1968 that the city doesn't know where it's at, that you had those actual numbers that you had based on lifelike circumstances, that you could see exactly what's going on. And they determined in 1968 that you were short by a bunch of stalls. And now to try to.
You also mentioned that in 1968, we had over 250 businesses.
Correct.
150.
204 compared to 150.
So certainly they may have been too few parking positions for 240 businesses, but is it enough for 150? Is it enough for 200?
The vacancies downtown tell me otherwise. The people that are downtown that are leaving because of parking tell me otherwise.
And we have established that that's the reason why they're leaving.
I haven't. I'm trying to come up with assumptions based on why they're all empty. And that was my biggest concern when, like I said, when I wanted to build down there was why are they all empty? Why are these empty storefronts empty?
Yeah.
And what are people have told me that it's not parking. I have the peddler Paws told me that they left because of parking. And Bill Lindbergh has told me he left because of parking. He's got 3 buildings in town that have a lot of vacancy and space, and he's lost tenants because he's not gotten his parking. And so to not listen to those people on my end as an investor would not be smart. And so I'm listening to everybody on that. And that's why I did the research that I did with understanding why we are. And my grandfather built the first subdivision in Cottage Grove, 75 acres in 1965. Businesses was booming. His stuff that he built in 1965 is still operational today. It's still working. When Watertown started developing in 1968 during that same boom, they had an infrastructure of a downtown that was set from 1850. They never touched it. So you tried to build off of that, I feel, and all the stuff has worked around it, but itself, infrastructure-wise, was not ready for a car. And it's always been a lingering problem, which is why the parking meters, the parks that got taken down, the buildings that are being taken down are all based on that. And to have it, understanding that the city of Watertown is not like any other town. It's 5 block deeps of downtown. It's extensive. It's not one main street with buildings running down one main street. It's wide. And it's small, compact. Everybody else, when they built on in 1960, like Cottage Grove, they had one little main street to build off of, and everything was accommodating for a car. Watertown didn't have that. They had a huge business district in the downtown. And to try to build around that and not focus on why that downtown needed to be expanded somehow, I feel as if has been the biggest struggle. And
It's not just wide, it's long. Have you,
Widen, yeah, it's both.
well, yeah, and to put a parking structure down there, the question is where?
I'm not
I'm
advocating
just-
for a
I know,
parking
I
structure.
understand,
I'm
I
just saying
understand.
is that that's what they had decided was more parking in
Sure.
1968. So I should have made that clear. But I mean, it was only going to cost about at that time $320,000 to build that 200-car parking structure there. But I know it's millions more now.
Right.
But it's I know it's a challenge, which is why I'm trying to present that in a
There
way
was even,
where
there was even plans drawn up for the parking structure.
yes,
I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
We were going to have a parking structure behind the library too at one time. That was going to happen, but that made that project unfeasible. Um, and like Todd's mentioned, other people have, yeah, our downtown is uniquely wide and long, and a parking structure at a certain point is going to be feasible and appealing to a portion of that business area. What we have done a bit of, and what I thought we're still wanting to keep doing is to acquire blighted properties in the right locations to address some of the needs that we need for the future. And I think that's still, we did it a couple of times with me, that I'm aware of, and I had a chance for us. I sold it for $52,000 to St. Mark's, and I wanted the city of Watertown to buy it right behind the old Chase building. And that council at the time said they had money from ARP. They had ARPA funds that were available, but they opted not to spend the money on that location. There was 27 parking stalls there, and they discounted that as far as being important at the time. They said it was out of the way. I mean, so I'm frustrated too, just like you. I think we had chances to acquire. We've said no for different reasons, and yet we still have a problem. So we need to recommit and to agree on the problem and to do something about it. And I think this board is one of the boards that's going to help make that decision, I would think.
Well, I think the last time you were in here, I asked, I said, it would be great if you took this presentation to the other groups. Did you end up doing that?
No, I did not. I wanted to take it to council, but apparently it had to be an actionable thing for it to get recommended voted and to do that. And I didn't realize that. That's why it's back in front of me today.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. I didn't know that.
You did Robert Duck, so
Okay.
yes.
So what are you asking for?
I'm asking for a direct plan on what the city has in mind for the concerns on parking, what they're gonna do, the concerns on what they're gonna do with the North First Street parking area. Just for an inventory on storage of parking in the downtown and for all the businesses and to have it and to ensure that developers that are coming in, like myself, will have adequate parking storage in their downtown for the new businesses development, that they will not impact other businesses.
Well, and I don't necessarily think it's only businesses. I mean, when we rip up Main Street, if we handle the water lateral issue on some of the buildings, you might see second and third floors activated in the downtown, which would then obviously put more strain on the parking issue. So, I think everybody understands that there either is or could potentially be a big, huge parking issue. I mean, you think it right now, and and other people might think.
I'm not saying that it shows that there's not a huge parking issue right now because of the businesses that are downtown have such a low, they're not having 40 people come in there to sit down for dinner. That's impacting parking storage. They're having the customers of 10 to 15, or the attorneys come in, the couple clients come in. They're not having a big rush of people that come and sit down for an hour and a half to 2 hours. When that happens, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And nobody is going to be able to build down there when that happens, because all the businesses are going to be suffocated when that happens.
I think you're making the right point. And I think part of the problem has been that we haven't had a strong consensus on the parking being a major problem. There's been some difference of opinion with different studies that came back saying that there was adequate parking and other things that made that topic less than clear with people on the RDA and or the council. And I think whatever they had for a lack of consensus was because they were looking at current demands for parking and not for the potential for additional expansion based on using the buildings to a higher use, which a lot of them are not being. If they have more than the first floor and they're not being used, then they're not being utilized. And that property owner is not getting the benefit of that investment. So it is a mistake, and so I think it depends on how you look at it, current versus future, and some of the needs that we could address if we had more than we currently have. So I would agree we should get that topic in a larger way agreed to by this board and or the council so that we can commit some resources to addressing it in a more active way.
Me making a motion?
I don't think we're at that point. I'm making the point.
No, I know, I'm just teasing it. Anything else for anybody else?
For me, there definitely is a need for a plan. I've been through this before in other communities. And I think it's important for us to understand that, in my experience, parking is not a one-dimensional thing for downtown. It is composed of customer parking, employee parking, and residential parking. And it's important to understand what I gain by understanding that it's at least those three dimensions. Each of those dimensions has a very distinct and different need than the others. Employees have a different parking need than customers do, and have a different parking need than residential, meaning residential people living up above. What I've also come to understand, running a retail business in a downtown location for 10 years, is that consumer focus on convenience significantly challenges. In a downtown setting, people's behavior around parking is different than in almost every other setting. I've literally watched people walk from the farthest stall at a big box store, but they won't park 2 blocks away from the downtown business that they would intend to visit. Instead, they'll just keep on going and they'll come back another day.
Correct.
When in fact, it's a shorter distance than that last stall in the last aisle at Walmart. And that's people's perception of distance, and that's the way their behavior changes. And so it's important to, that again, I gain that understanding. We look at the customer and how they behave, and that's different from how an employee behaves and what their need is, different from what a residential person has and what their need is. So in looking at this issue previously, the plan had to, in order for it to work, had to accommodate those three very different dimensions.
So basically what you just said, that no matter what we do, there's not enough parking on Main Street to accommodate customers that are going to retail locations, because each retail location might have 4 or 5 stalls. If they get more than 5 customers, they lose, if I understand you.
That is the typical implication, particularly for a city like Watertown, where, as Dave highlighted, the streets and buildings were laid out without cars in mind. And so we're really, really restricted. And honestly, if I were looking at customer behavior, I'd be focused on from the river to 5th Street and at most 1 block in either direction. And that's realistically what I'm saying what most consumers would consider to be reasonable parking for them to be able to go to one of those businesses. You're not going to get people parking in the 1st Street lot to go to Literatus. Most people are just not going to do that. And most of our people who are coming downtown, I'm not saying all, there's plenty of exceptions, they're coming to do 1, maybe 2 businesses. It's not that they're coming and parking for the day and walking all up and down. That's not the majority behavior. We have a collection of destination stores that people come to, and they go to that store and then maybe go to one other and they move on. So understanding that behavior influences how the plan needs to be shaped. And it may ask us to ask some difficult questions about, as much as I like, for example, want to put a stake in the heart of every one-way street we have in the city. There are advantages to parking arrangements on one-way streets. And so if it's like it starts raising uncomfortable, you have things you have to think about. Like your point, like literally, like yeah, that
My only thing, it's always, I've been here 15 years.
Yep.
I've never one day had a problem finding a parking space downtown. But to your point, I don't mind walking. Right, so I will park 3 blocks away and walk to the store that I want to go to.
yeah, and
I would also want to correct one thing. There's only 197 first floor retail locations in the downtown. And there's 15 of them that are vacant. So there's not quite that many businesses downtown, and in part because we lost some buildings. And some of those businesses in the early 60s were on the second floor. We don't have that anymore. Because there isn't an 1850s building that had an elevator. So you typically don't have upper floor businesses. Now there's a couple of exceptions downtown that would like to have upper floors, like the Shed building, like the Sun Temple. But the majority of those buildings downtown are going to end up being residential, which to your point, because I've had friends and families that have lived downtown, there is significant parking challenges for people who are living in those upper floors. There's no challenge, no question about that. One of the things we can do, tourism now has that Placer AI that will start addressing those questions of where do people go when they come to the downtown. But we have to ask for that information from tourism. And they can tell you when a person comes to downtown, where do they go? And do they
How
just,
long do they
and
spend?
how long do they stay? We're doing that for the special events right now and studying where people are going when they can. But that will be very interesting data that will help with some of these questions going forward.
and I say, it's 3 dimensions, but even there, you take the customer dimension and you split it in half because you have your customers who are going to daytime businesses, and then you have the customers who are coming to bars and restaurants for the evening or the movie theater that they might visit.
You also have residential customers, city residents, if you will, and you have outsiders coming. When we talk to some of the businesses downtown, to your point earlier, they have destination locations.
Yep.
And I have one of the businesses downtown that tells me what percentage of his business comes from outside Watertown and what percentage comes from inside Watertown. His profits are much greater with those that come from outside, but he still values the business for the citizens, right?
Yeah.
Residents.
And obviously, to further complicate it, like you mentioned, there's the differences. You're gonna have differences based on the type of business. Your bar and restaurant is going to have a different need than a movie theater, than a financial advisor or insurance office. Either the amount of part that would be necessary to support that amount of employees is all gonna be different. So,
But to answer that, Steve, on that 15-year thing, how many businesses were in the downtown in the past 15 years in the evening would have a parking storage needed of 40 to 50 plus cars to put pressure on that?
Well,
To my knowledge,
there
there
were a
wasn't.
few that have departed the downtown that might have done that, but there's nothing significant downtown. It would be, I'd love to have a restaurant that's attracting that many customers at one time downtown. We don't have them.
Correct. And that my question is, why don't you have one? And why has Watertown not had a downtown restaurant, a fine dining restaurant on Main Street in the past 50
I
years?
don't think the sole reason, David, to be honest with you, is parking. We also built 2 bypasses around the town. And then we built a development down Church Street.
I drive 2 hours to go out to East End.
We have drug people out of the downtown to go to other places, which is classic development 101, right? And I don't know why we don't have businesses downtown. Obviously, there's a challenge with parking. And I don't think it's I won't say that. But I don't know if that's the rationale. The other rationale was one of your first slides. the income level of Watertown is significantly less than the income level of Commonwealth. And yet the population in the Commonwealth is significantly less than Watertown.
And how many people?
Not anymore.
How many leave, how many people?
They're within 5,000 of Watertown right now.
But how many people leave Waterloo, leave Marshall, leave Sun Prairie, leave Lake Mills to drive to Oconomowoc, or drive to Madison, Milwaukee to go out to dinner? I know a ton of them. Why can't the same people that have higher incomes come to Watertown and spend money in Watertown in downtown restaurants?
We've had businesses tell us that they want to leave Oconomowoc and come here.
I mean,
There's some that have.
Right.
I mean, people themselves.
Well, but you go where the opportunity exists, right? If I want to go to a nice restaurant, where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go to wherever that nice restaurant exists.
That's correct. Wherever it exists.
If it's here, I would go here. I support the businesses downtown on a regular basis.
And so my question would be, how come some of the businesses that were like the Elks Lodge used to have a bunch of people inside all the time, and other downtown restaurants that have now left? Or, because in 1968, there was not parking and they left because they couldn't adequately get, how do you bring them back? Because I think it showed in then that they were there, and when parking became a problem, their customers, the reason why Main Street cafes only open in the morning is, well, mainly because the owners only want to work in the morning, but it's going to be tough parking in the evening, and to encourage that behavior in the evening, to have a nightlife in Watertown past 6 p.m.
I've eaten there in the evening.
No.
I've been there in the evening.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, though.
They're
Example, it's literally right across the street from
Parking lot.
Right.
And
Yeah.
most of those social groups are all struggling right now
Yeah.
with membership.
Yeah.
People have,
Yeah.
this current generation doesn't really participate in those groups, so that's not a great example.
Well, for venues and stuff like that.
But to your point, though, on the parking, I think we've had, I think we should keep it as a discussion topic, an agenda item. And we should, in our own way, we should try to make progress on that in a way that we have a greater consensus. And I think most of the things that get addressed at the council, usually they come from a committee. If there's a better committee to have that discussion, but I think it ties into our economic development and what makes our town better. So we should be able to discuss it further.
I would agree.
I think the parking issue, I'm 66 and I've been in Watertown all but 15 years of that. And it's been an issue. Even when we were working on the town square, it came up as to where are people gonna park for this? And it was just kind of, we have enough parking. We have enough parking. We don't need any more parking.
Right.
We do have enough parking, but it's not, I think to your point, it's not where it needs to be. I think it needs to be spread out throughout.
Situationally, it's okay, but not in general, there's a need. That's right.
When I did for you guys last year, it showed that the current status of downtown had sufficient parking the way that it's set. I don't disagree with that. It does. But in order to expand where you want to expand as a downtown, that's where I had mentioned, what do you want in your downtown to attract people that come into your downtown besides the businesses that are already there? How do you obtain that? And what do you need to do that? And I'm trying to reflect of what I've observed, what may have been the problem in the past. And it didn't happen, and it has not happened since. And they're still not there.
Well, you're doing us a favor by bringing the topic up again. And I think that's the thing we can say thank you for.
I'm not gonna object to the fact that maybe we need to put in a parking rate or something like that. But to Tony's point, unless you blow up a building on Main Street and put the parking lot on Main Street,
I'm not for it.
the Main Street businesses still have the same issue. Right? There's only so many parking spaces on Main Street. And unless people are willing to park on First Street and walk to the park, or park on the Fourth Street lot that doesn't get used and walk to Main Street, or to the other Fourth Street lot that's on the south side that nobody uses, and walk to Main Street. What are you gonna do? You can build a parking deck all day long, but if people don't want to park in it because they can't park in front of the building they want to go to,
Do you think
that's part of the stuff we also have to be honest about and talk about.
Do you think the Fourth Street lots might receive more traffic and more utilization if we were to do away with the one way there?
Well, I think it will, but I think, if you look at, again, I don't want to compare ourselves to the Commonwealth. I know we're being recorded, all that nonsense that I'll hear about, right? But if you look at the parking lots in a Commonwealth, they're all behind Main
Yeah.
Street. So how do you get to them? Well, they built walkways that allow you to exit their big parking lots to get onto the Main Street, right? If you can't find a parking space on Main Street, you go to one of the lots, right? So there's opportunities on Main Street for us to do that. There's a couple of alleyways that connect to the Fourth Street parking lot.
I
And
believe
it's been
all those were-
suggested that we clear that out before
Mhm.
2028, so that people become accustomed to using that to get to those buildings
And
during the
Lake Mills has
reconstruction.
that as well.
Yeah.
And I think a
many
couple of those were
buildings do.
public-private
Avenue.
opportunities too,
Yeah.
like with Bank 59, I think was a public-private joint venture. Which included a restaurant, I think there as well. So there's ways to do it. Parking has, I mean, it's not like we haven't talked about parking either. I mean, when we did the original plan for the Riverwalk, we talked about trailhead parking. So I think every time we have. The thing is, I think it's great to keep it on the agenda, Ken. I think every time we talk about the next step on a certain thing, we have to keep it in mind. Even who did we meet with last week, Deb? Here, who did we meet with last week?
The port.
Yeah, but who's the lady? Anyway, so we met with her. She was talking about trailhead for the with the interurban trail and how they look at parking as well, especially when a bike trail goes through a downtown. Where's the trailhead? Where's the stopping point? Where's the parking spot to get on, jump off? So I think, as long as we look at and go, I mean, right now we don't necessarily have any downtown development things like on our agenda. I mean, Knoxville's obviously happening, but there isn't another one on the horizon. I think we should need to bring up the parking discussion every single time something comes up. So thank you, David.
Thank you.
Just to make your point a little bit, I was on the airport commission for 4 years. And there was an item they had on the agenda every time you looked at that agenda. It got to the point of a bit of an irritation, but it was there for a reason. It was the Bloomer Street expansion and that development that they wanted to have addressed so they could take it off the agenda. And until it was addressed satisfactorily, they decided to leave it on as an agenda item. And we always had some comment in some way, whether that was right or wrong. I would say there's some value in at least keeping it for a discussion and periodically trying to get updates here so we can move forward on and get more consensus on what to do next.
Hey, it happened.
What?
It happened.
I know, still on there.
Stephanie, you asked to make a comment.
On your agenda, I would encourage you to look at last meeting that public safety and welfare had. Engineering department actually did a parking lot study based on was it signed well. So they did make a recommendation that they're taking to the council that they are going to put up actual parking signs that are recognized universally on the parking lots, and then also directional signage on Main Street to those parking lots. Again, in preparation for 2020 to make people aware of where the parking lots are. But I will tell you this, one of the chamber employees discovered a parking lot this summer that she did not realize was a public parking lot. So I think, awareness of where our public parking is as well is helpful. I am also one that I'm willing to walk a couple blocks to get to where I need to go. In fact, I do that for my job quite often and just walk where I need to go instead of driving. And I, as a Main Street director, want people walking because maybe they're headed to Ava's and then they walk past Literatus. Or maybe they are parking in a parking lot and they're gonna notice that Goose and Gander is a new restaurant that has popped up and they're gonna go and eat there. So right. So I feel like the charm of our downtown is that we want people walking around and noticing things and seeing the murals and seeing the placemakers that we have put down there. And just for your reference, Main Street District covers 36 blocks. and we have 197 storefronts. And as of account this week, only 12 of those storefronts are empty. And I would also tell you that 4 of those, there's a reason why they're empty and they're not really on the market right now. So there's nothing I can do about it to fill them. I would also tell you that the 519, if they are fielding calls, that's chamber, I call it 519. Chamber, Main Street and tourism, we are fielding calls from somebody weekly looking to move into Watertown. We are a desired location.
Sure. Okay, so I agree. Let's keep it on our agenda. Let's have it be a topic of discussion on every development or every potential development or thought process we have when it comes to development. I think the 111 South Water Street is a prime example of whatever goes there outside of underground parking for an apartment complex, which we don't think obviously isn't going to happen right now. I mean, whatever else it could be would also require parking. So I think it needs to be a topic on just about every discussion point. We need a recommendation for Mr. Poppy to share this with common council.
Someone make a motion.
Someone make a motion.
I'm going to make them. Yeah.
I'll make the motion. I'll make my recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Berg. Any discussion?
I think it's a little premature.
Yeah, I think we need to establish the scope more before it's brought up.
Well, so my discussion point was going to be if Mr. Poppy wants to take this to common council, I'm fine with that. I would definitely tell council that probably is something that we're going to continue to discuss here in the RDA. And your presentation can be kind of an awareness campaign, and that the RDA will continue to work on this moving forward. With that, I would agree with it. I wouldn't necessarily think that taking it to council expecting action is probably it might be a little premature for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
100%. I was looking for that exact word, awareness.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with that?
I don't know what the motion say.
Well, there isn't, the motion is just that we recommend that
To share with.
to share with common council.
Yeah.
For awareness.
And I'm adding just for awareness purposes
Yeah.
only.
It's only discussion, not action.
Yeah, for discussion. And it can be a committee of the whole or whatever we
Yeah,
use
something
for the
like that.
format on actually hearing the update, but
But if Mr. Poppy needs a recommendation from our committee
Yeah.
in order to present.
okay, all right, well,
Just informational.
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, Mr. Poppy. All right, next item. Review and take action on the rehab loan application.
We have Lydia Sobel here, and I thought maybe she could come up and just talk a little bit about the application and what you'd use it for and the.
Where's up? Right here.
Did
Either
you
way,
wanna
the camera's
say-
360, so either way.
Thank you so much for inviting me here tonight. I've invited to answer questions that you might have on how we would utilize the RDA funds, additional funds to continue to run and operate the business at 200 North Second Street, which has evolved from the Eliason to Goose and Gander. I don't know how many of you know our history with that building and the evolution previous owners to us. I don't think.
Can you do a high altitude one? Just
Sure.
to-
So we bought the business in 2021 from the previous owners, Tammy, John, and Slim, who had it for about 33 years. They were retiring, they were done. We assumed ownership and owned it from 2021, opened May 13th, Friday the 13th, an auspicious date. May of 2022, and continued it through early 24 when staffing issues and revenue shortages, given the existing supper club business model required our closure. So it's a long story. It involves quadruple bypass and a hip replacement, and a major change in our leadership from a kitchen perspective. So I don't know if you know how hard it is to find good cooks, but if you know any, please see me. We're consistently looking for, quality leadership in our kitchen. We did have to close for a little over a year, but during that time, continued to own and maintain the business or the building. We had tenants upstairs in the resident apartment upstairs. Continued to pay on our existing RDA loan. And always had the intent to reopen that business, in a way that was gonna be, that would be profitable and that we could sustain, so sustainable and profitable. When we had the appropriate human resources in place. We're in a position to reopen as the Goose and Gander. We looked at the target market, we looked at what Watertown was looking for. The high-end supper club with the 4-course meal and the relish tray and add scallops to your steak is great for a destination place or an anniversary or a special event, but it wasn't generating regular business, particularly during the week. Fish fry, always popular, continues to be. We did 203 people on our second Friday. It was amazing and people were awesome and we had a great time. We wanted to do something that was going to generate more casual revenue during the week. So we downscaled our menu a bit to be a little bit more approachable. Burgers, flatbreads, appetizers, still some entrees, the wraps are good. Yeah, the wraps are pretty good. And continue to maintain the fish fry as it has always been, including the tartar sauce. Yes, there's a lot of tartar sauce. And we're just ecstatic to be able to be in a position staff-wise, financially, and health-wise to be able to reopen our doors, because that building, I'll tell you, was so sad when I was up to it. I'll go in there and talk to Ray Powers. I don't know if you all know Ray. He built it, owned it in the 30s, but we speak to each other when I'm down in the basement there. And you could just feel the need for that place to be full of life again. So we have been working really hard to make that happen. I'm so glad we've been able to. In the midst of this, we have been faced with HVAC issues, electrical issues, roofing issues. It's a 1933 building. It is a beast to maintain. Unexpected costs related to those upkeep and maintenance that have cut into our startup capital, that have cut into our payroll, cut into our startup inventory. And we knew a while back with those in place, we were going to seek the support of the RDA, which has supported us in the past and really helped us get started back in 2021. And we're really hopeful that you'll be willing to do it because I'm happy to entertain whatever questions.
Again, the 25,000 is the amount of the loan. And you have some identified needs that you want to have it used for. So.
Mostly mechanical, structural, the heating and cooling, the electrical. I haven't received the invoices for those yet, but they won't be small. So.
I just want to also point to your packets where there is a credit analysis that was done, and with a recommendation to loan to be approved.
Mhm. What does it say? It says unlimited personal guarantees. What does that mean?
I'm not sure. Does that just mean that we're good for it?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
pretty
good
much
for
means
it.
that they're good for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they,
For it,
yeah.
Right,
like we will not default.
right.
But we've paid off for our other business, paid off
Right.
one SBA loan. We're in good standing on all of our creditors and all of our vendors and all of our current loans. So
I mean, I don't see a reason why we'd be critical of it. The only thing that I'd be asking is that, do we set an example here? Do we have finite dollars to play with? Right? So, I mean, this 25,000,
What,
It,
finish your statement.
no, I mean, just the 25,000 is an amount that is a small number.
I think we have like 136.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have a finite amount of resources to lend out to other people that also have the same capability or ability to to make that case. So is it a first come, first serve? How do we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do analyze them first.
All right.
First.
Well, having just eaten at the Goose and Gander this evening for the first time,
We did.
I will make the motion to.
Well, good for you. I'll second it. I'll second it. Second.
Second, by Mr. Berg.
Sounded like a prejudice.
I think it might have been, I was.
Nothing more convincing than good food.
That's right. That was very good.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Easy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you had said it wasn't gonna have the same old tartar sauce, that was good.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
We'll see you.
That could be the side.
Oh.
Okay.
I should have said that before the vote.
Can't do that. Be careful.
All right.
Thank you.
For coming.
Next item, a development update.
All right, so, Mr. Chairman asked me to include this as like a regular feature, so, I'll just run down the developments that I'm aware of and what the status is of them and entertaining questions to the extent that I can know the answer, or I will find out the answer for you. So, beginning with Hunter Oaks, the Enclave by Belinsky. This is for 40 single-family lots. The city is working on finalizing a development agreement, and Belinsky anticipates construction starting in May or June of this year. Oxbow, always a continuing story with the Oxbow, right? Very unique development, given that it straddles two counties, and figuring out all the nuances in dealing with that. So this is by Northtown Partners. On the February 16th, the Common Council approved their plan development overlay zoning and their general and precise implementation plan. They tweaked it a little bit, so they're not as many townhomes. They were having the townhomes in a unique design, like on the kind of the end cap of the apartments. And because of some design issues, they made a change from 6 3-bedroom townhomes to 4 3-bedroom townhomes and added some 4 studio apartments just because of the limitations of the configuration. These are market rate units. And as you might be aware, the primary building is 4 stories with a smaller 3-story building. So they were asked if they planned on making any further changes since they had been approved under one design and now came back for this change, and they felt pretty confident that there will be no changes moving forward, that this would be the last request for a change.
Total number of apartments? You said 4 townhomes, how many of them?
Right, so they're under the new plan, they're gonna have 7 3-bedroom apartments. They'll have 16 2-bedroom apartments, 36 1-bedroom apartments, and 4 studio apartments.
If I did my math correctly, I had 63.
I got 2, 3, 50, yeah, 63.
It was 68 at one time.
Yeah, because,
They got rid of the townhome.
yeah, they got rid of the.
They went from 6 to
Well-
4 townhome.
But I thought they replaced it with something that was gonna be,
Only 4 studios.
okay.
They brought in, yeah, the 4
I think it's
studios.
7 total, but 63 of them.
Correct. And that would reflect 69 to 67 would be the 2 towns they got rid of. Yeah. Yeah.
Lumen Terrace, which that's Horizon. In August, last year, they broke ground. It's a 9.3 acre site.
Sorry, can you catch up? Did you have a start date on Oxbow? Estimate?
We still don't have a development agreement with them.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
There's still more hoops to be gone
Yep,
through.
thank you. That makes sense.
So Lumen Terrace, which is Horizon, 9.3 acre site along Johnson Street. It's, we talk about momentum a lot. This is kind of momentum with the Rock River Ridge neighborhood. Mid to 2026, they completion. But the units are going to be listed as they're complete starting in March of 2027. They've begun pre-leasing. They have 4 buildings with 92 apartments, including 1, 2, and 3 bedroom layouts.
92 total, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, holy.
Yeah.
It's a big building here.
Our Habitat for Humanity project called College Park on Votech Drive, right adjacent to the tech college there. On February 16th, the Common Council approved our development agreement with Habitat. It's 12 affordable housing units. There are 6 twin homes, modular housing. A team of us from the city are going to volunteer for a day to help with that project, so we'll get to see it firsthand. We're finalizing the grant agreement with Dodge County for the $100,000 that we were awarded for the extension of Wilbur Street. And just recently, Habitat announced that they received, courtesy of Senator Baldwin at the federal level, a designated grant amount of $500,000 to go towards that project, which could lead to more development with that infusion of resources. The Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation and Hoffman Motts are on Gateway Drive. They're calling it Lot 0 of Gateway Drive. They're planning 7 single-family homes, and those homes will be on a lot that's 1.1 acre across from Tractor Supply. It's a little bit smaller lot size, so they had asked for an exception to have that smaller lot area of 7,000 square feet. The homes are designed to meet the needs of the workforce, first-time buyers, hopefully offering them at reduced cost. And it's a way of saving money because you can take advantage of existing public infrastructure. Close by, there is a development, 1911 Gateway Drive, Free Hill Capital, and they're partnering with National Management LLC on what will be 250 to 290 multifamily units. That's on 33 acres with 22 of the acres being buildable. It's envisioned to have attached indoor parking, 1 to 3 bedroom floor plans, and walking trails and springs, and kind of a neighborhood feel. A couple of the individuals from Free Hill Capital did a presentation on TIF and TID before the committee of the whole, and just kind of introduce themselves to Common Council, and they closed on I don't know if I mentioned, they closed on the property in December of 2025. And so ongoing discussions about that project. More to come on that. And that is what I have as far as development updates.
Wow. That's a long list. I don't know if this exists or not. Do we have a map of that? One of the things not to bring up Conwalk again, but I know Conwalk has done a great job they have a map
Mapping
on their
it out.
website that shows
Mhm.
all the current developments or potential developments coming up.
Okay, I'll look
And
into
the
that.
highlighted areas, how many units they're being planned. It's a great resource.
Sure.
And a great advertising opportunity for the community.
That'd be great to have that
Mhm.
updated on our social media.
Yep.
Yeah,
People don't know.
right.
Wouldn't be something I would look into.
Yes.
So.
Take a look at that. So any questions about that? A lot of activity,
There's a lot of
a lot of
activity.
interest.
Looking at all those and, Tony brought up the fact that Oxbow doesn't have a development agreement. Understood. Is there anything the RDA should be doing actively to help facilitate these to go from step 1 to step 10? I mean, outside of just saying, yeah, we support it. Is there anything we can be doing? Is there any boxes we can check for council prior to, I'm just wondering, just spitballing. Because I think one of the things that, at least in my experience, has been a hindrance for the community is we do seem like we put up more walls than other communities, and sometimes those walls don't necessarily need to be
What
there.
way would you say?
Other developers have told me that they've had challenges. They looked at Watertown, they've come talk to people, and it seems harder to get the ball rolling. I don't know if, sometimes it's a good reason, sometimes it seems like it's not. I'm just wondering if this group needs to be looking at that pathway and trying to help facilitate to go from step 1 to step 10.
If this group can help collect actual specific information in that regard, I would love to hear it. I'm all about hearing that topic, but only if it's specifics that we can then truly pick apart and figure out if there's something we can do about it. It's really hard to deal with the amorphous. Well, we heard that they're difficult to work with. I want to get to that. I want to get to that perception. I really do.
Sure.
But the only way we can get there is with specifics. So I would say, particularly if there are individuals at the table who know individuals who are trying to do it and can get a conversation with them
to find out,
to give us what exactly happened.
Sure.
And then we can figure it out. Can we fix that or not?
I would agree with that.
Would it be appropriate for someone in this group, as a representative of this group, to reach out to the developer and basically act as a liaison?
How was your process?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Ask them, how was your process?
Yeah.
Who's the Newman guys at Steve Clean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Is the Newman guy Steve Clean the contact?
I don't know.
He'd be the good one to talk to.
Think you're gonna talk to?
Yeah.
Who was that person?
Steve DeClean.
What about him?
He's one of the Newman. He's very active for lobbying for Newman as well as on the Wisconsin Home Builders Association. I mean, he's a very proactive individual. He's one of the higher ups at Newman. I think Brian.
So how could we use
So
it?
even
He's the one you want to have a conversation with about what are impediments. If you want to know what perceived impediments are, he would be an individual that I would talk to.
Right, but I think Todd's comment is good though. He's saying that if somebody from this group, obviously one of you would be ideal. If you have some contact with them and you ask about how it's moving forward, whatever their project, and see how they perceive our town as far as cooperating or helping. But I was going to say that we've had some good presentations on financing that were even involving that. One was on tax credits for older properties. The other one was just on other levels of financing. I would think those resources are ones that we should always make people aware of and available so that they can get contacted directly from these developer type people and be told that, I'm available if you want to meet. Because those are good presentations
almost like a resource group for anybody looking at the community. I would agree.
Yeah.
And to Todd's point, I use the impediments in Watertown, but that doesn't necessarily mean what I meant to didn't come out correctly. What are other communities doing that we're not? How are so it can be just more than what are the problems you've seen and when you've dealt with Watertown. It can be what are other communities doing that make things easier that maybe Watertown as a whole needs to look at.
And maybe having a person saying, hi, I'm going to be your liaison.
Yeah.
And, you have issues. If things are going to news, let me know. do everything I can to keep them going smooth. If you're running into any hiccups, any stumbling blocks, let me know and I'll try to snow plow that road for you.
Yeah.
So along that same point, when you do a large project, usually you have an owner's rep type person that you can contact, and that individual helps to give a perspective and give insight for the developer in a way that I think developers appreciate if there is an owner's rep looking at things. And I think if we are the property owner of where they're going to build, in our own way, we are an owner's rep. I don't know where that might tie in, but I think a contact person is along the lines of what's being made. And I think it's if nothing else, it's reassuring for them to hear
Yeah.
that we want to be helpful.
So here are a couple of just thoughts. I was looking through Mason's notes, and it seemed at one time he was looking at, and other communities have this, a developer's guide. And I'm looking at creating one of those, and it's kind of in plain language, like the whole process.
I feel like he did a step-by-step
did he?
presentation for us, but I don't know, I never saw a
And I,
guide.
and I hear that, but I'm pretty sure that our core process is basically identical to any other large city our size.
Yeah, it's just
So-
little tweaks, but it's
Yeah.
just, I think, you
And
know.
may know that, but
Yeah.
the person looking around goes, gosh. you
Well,
know,
I'm talking about-
sometimes these small towns, they got weird ordinances, and I don't know what they are, and just being able to assure them with
Yeah.
something going, hey, you're gonna see we're
can
we're
have-
easy to work with.
You can have the same process, but application is always different,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah,
how you apply. the
On every
process.
project,
yeah.
different.
So I
When
like,
I was,
I
when
like
I was
guides.
doing this as a city employee.
Yeah.
I'd have developers come to ask me questions. And I'd look at them and say, I don't have that property in our community. Well, no, it's in the other community, but they won't talk to me, you will, right? So, yes, I agree, we all have similar processes, but application of the process is always.
Yeah, but from a guide perspective, the application of the process to,
Handing them the process is easy.
yeah, that's like the process is already there. Yeah, that's not the same as
How you apply.
your particular property and the decision makers in place right now and the city's focus right now, and how does that,
Mashed together, yeah.
so.
There's also, as you might be aware, there's a stakeholder group, I think you're on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was there.
for looking at our zoning code. And working with Van Wall on that to simplify it. Do you want to speak to it at all?
That's right. But at that same meeting, some of the people that were in attendance were developer type people or builders, and they echoed this perception of our town being difficult. You know, they didn't personally feel that, but they've been told that. So they were actually walking into a situation trying to figure out, is Watertown difficult or not? Because I've been told they are. And three of them made comment, and two of them are Watertown people, but they just said that's what they hear, you know, from other people. So you got to get rid of that perception. I think making some kind of personal contact by somebody, you know, to give them reassurance and update would be a great idea.
Anything else?
Again, I'm all about hitting that perception
Yeah.
square on the head. Like I'm not trying to avoid it in any way, but we need actionable information, and then we can and then we can attack it. And if by the way, the actionable information turns out to be, well, there are these two people that everybody talks to, and they've formed their opinion about what Watertown is all about.
Yeah.
And that's the real problem. So, you know, whatever it turns out to be, then fine. We'll go talk to those two people, and we can make them we'll change their minds. But
Is it a process challenge or is it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, there was a perception in building inspection that they were very difficult to get through, and those people aren't here anymore. But they did have that. They reinforced that view that they were anti or critical of development, and they were going to find fault, and that's gone because those people aren't here.
Sometimes those
But the
things with
the myth lives on. The
hang with
myth
you a while.
continues to live on
Yeah.
at least for a while until you get rid of it over
Yeah.
time.
Well, this is a laundry list of potentials that can help get rid of it, so. All right, well, moving on, Riverwalk update.
So a subset of this board, not a walking forum, but a subset of this board met with Kapoor, and we were also looking at the parallel effort to a plan that's been developed, a draft plan for the extension of the pedestrian and bike pathways, and some of those.
The way she put it was best. She said the bike path group, or whatever you want to call it, is looking for a north-south corridor. So instead of doubling up or doing two efforts, we thought combining them into the same project would be helpful. So we met to see if the north-south corridor of their plan could potentially be the Riverwalk, or at least one side of the Riverwalk. And that's kind of the premise of the meeting. In that meeting, we kind of took over the meeting from her because Kapoor was on the call, so it was a great opportunity for us to pick their brain a little bit. But we talked about some of the sites we talked about. We talked about what's the building on the corner of Milwaukee and Water.
I can never remember the name.
Mill Park, yeah. Obviously that the Riverwalk goes around to the sidewalk, and then so then we talked about the cost of if that's a bike pathway, what is that cost versus the bridge, the pedestrian bridge, and so we're kind of discussing how those two plans could become one for their Northwest corridor.
It all initiated because we were looking for a way to get grants to finish the south end of the Riverwalk. So basically from Main Street to Milwaukee. And Kapoor was going to give us estimates for the engineering cost, and then we could go figure out how to raise some funds to do that.
And just to,
but they had questions about it.
Well, and just on that point, because some of the grants require you to be past the engineering stage before you can apply for them. So some of them just require the property, some of them require plans for the property. So every catalytic site has different parameters in order to apply for the grants. So trying to find that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 3 projects that we wanted them to give us engineering costs for. On the west side of the river would be from the town square to the globe would be one piece, which is probably the most simplistic piece to finish. The second would be at that Mill Place apartment. And that was the question to ask him, is it cheaper for us just to run along the river in front of that building with that significant grade change? Or is it cheaper to go ahead and build the walkway across the river looking back at the dam? So they're looking at the engineering costs for both of those ways, but give us a price. And then the third catalytic site was up by the old barber shop right on Main Street.
Where the rip rock just went in,
Right.
Kind of creating more of a space there.
The seating area,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
And engineering was in the room when they talked about if it becomes a northwest corridor bike path, obviously the width of the ramp would need to be addressed. What else? There's one more thing.
I was looking for 10 feet wide
Yeah.
for a bike path.
8 to 10, they said.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Because the part of the current Riverwalk actually is okay.
And some of it's not.
So as I say, that I know some of it is not.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
looking at it as a bike path, it's not.
If they stay on the west side of the river, they'll be okay, but once you get on the east side of the boardwalk, it's a problem.
Correct. And then Robert came into the meeting. He did sit in, and one of the things that him and engineering brought up was the DNR study for the northeast river edge, which would be just past the Masonic Temple.
Right.
There's obviously some things that need to be addressed there in the city's plan. Whether or not our ability to apply for grants for the project would coincide with their needs for fixing that was discussed, and that's also something we're looking at. So
we shared the bike plan, with Kapoor and engineering passed along some additional things too, as they put together their, cost estimates for our consideration, but it's nice to be aware of these, efforts that we can potentially, as they're looking at ways to fund that, and we're looking at ways to fund the Riverwalk, that we're working in partnership.
We don't want to
And-
fight over grants. We don't want to have two projects going on at the same time that accomplish the same thing. So it's all, what really came out of that meeting was that all the different departments within the city need to be communicating and working together.
And and again, all we're asking them for is a price to
Yeah.
do.
Correct.
Basically get us to a construction document stage.
So we can apply.
So that we could apply, and then if we get the grant, we could put shovels in the ground.
Correct.
But
So just
just, we're not contracting with them to do work, they're gonna give us an estimate. A proposal.
I think the mill trace, I just want to one comment to echo something said previously. The mill trace provides to me a classic example of what I was describing in terms of instead of looking at the idea of the Riverwalk being it's always along the river. You described two options. Option one was cut along the river between the building and the river. Option two was build a bridge across the river. Option three is to go back out to the sidewalk and go in front of the building.
Yeah.
Like I think to be practical about this, we have to look at those. And there's other spots up and along the whole pathway where it doesn't have to be a river walk that is always on the river. It can dive in and out for stretches because that's just what practical.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes though.
Because throwing up $4 million to throw
No.
a bridge across the river, it's just not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Somebody wants to agree to do it, maybe it would. From a design perspective, it's much more attractive to do it that way. I don't disagree from a cost perspective. You might want to look at
Yeah.
options.
It's a matter of where we're putting our energy and putting energy in things that can make the
Yeah, the big one is the north end where that huge walkway that goes across the river,
Mhm.
only
Yeah.
at the widest part of the.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is the latest part. That's why it was 3.5 million, I think.
So we, as that moves forward, and eventually I think they would like to have that plan before the Common Council as it makes its way. I think is it going to Public Works perhaps?
They had to go to Public Works first, yes.
Yes, so more conversation about that plan, and that plan has to find funding. It's a plan. So we'll be working on grant proposals at the same time. All right, so
Okay. Right. Next up, Main Street 2028. So I asked Deb to put this on the agenda, because I think we need to talk about it every meeting. What are we doing? One of the things I've asked Deb to do is reach out to all the different groups, Main Street Tourism, Chamber, whoever else. Try to have RDA kind of help corral, because all of those groups are very busy working with all of the businesses downtown as this approaches. We don't have to worry about, we don't have that day-to-day, appeal, need to appeal to every single business owner. So Deb we're kind of the middle, we can be the middle infielder. So I've asked Deb to kind of be that person for all those groups to make sure all the groups are marching to the same tune, working on the same stuff and kind of coordinating. Obviously 2028 reconstruction provides a huge opportunity. Deb and I met with, was it Andrew?
Yep.
Yeah. Deb and I met with Andrew to discuss the water laterals. He put together a spreadsheet that covered every building that is a part of the 2028, which I think goes all the way down to there's an insurance company, but yeah, and in long story short, it's the total cost. So then we also had him expound on it, right? Like, it wasn't just, here's the building, here's their water lateral, here's what they could have. It was kind of like, what's the potential future use too? We don't want to have to rip something up should something else come into play. So it was kind of I made the joke in the meeting. I said, just because right now it's a single person's office doesn't mean it might not be a Buffalo Wild Wings in 2 years. You don't know. So let's plan for the future instead of having to reverse course. He put that spreadsheet together in order to increase everybody's water lateral based on square footage of every building and potential future use of every building. It was a price tag of like $500,000, which sounds like a big number, but actually considering how many buildings it would be impacted, and I didn't think it was that big. So I asked Deb to, I kicked it off of her. What if, how do we figure that out? How do we make sure that every building has the opportunity to upgrade their water laterals while the main street's ripped up? And one of the things we talked about was maybe some type of loan program for it. Something that, and so the premise behind it was, if the project's not till 2028, if we can get something kicked off in 2026, people could possibly be participating 2 years before it even happens. So we don't know what it looks like for everybody to upgrade, building by building. We talked about a grading scale based on, what it is, if it's a single occupancy owner, user, versus an investor versus, the guy owns 5 buildings on Main Street. Is there a grading scale to what we would help out with? And I asked Deb to reach out to the other groups to see if we could partner with them on creating this program. So
What groups did you reach out to?
Main Street Chamber and Tourism.
Okay.
We haven't met yet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But anyway, so it was kind of that was my idea. I wanted to bring it to the meeting because I think it's something that needs to happen. I think I welcome your opinions.
If I could remind you, there was a task force in place that had all of those players on it. And that might be the easiest way to get them all back into a room, but there were building owners, business people, Main Street people, chamber people that were on
When
that
was that?
task force. It's been going on since
The Main Street task force.
2021.
Oh, the Main Street task force, yeah.
All those people were there.
You're on that, aren't you, Tony?
Yes. So particular to this topic of water laterals, it is something we've already started working. And we already have some thoughts about how to bring the financing. And I think RDA and other groups can help with connecting with the building owners on that topic. I would like to suggest that from a mechanics perspective, it should really, let's leave that with public works and water and wastewater systems. Because we got that.
Sure.
We got that. In terms of looking at what the costs are and the financial analysis and the financial assistance, we already have some ideas.
Okay.
In that regard. One thing you should be aware of is there's really 3 pieces to the equation here. There's the connection from there's the city pipe that runs to the building, where is the building owner's responsibility. And then there's what we call the lateral on the building owner side.
Correct.
That gets from there to their building. But then we look at our downtown and the age of our buildings, then you have to start worrying about the plumbing that's inside the buildings. In certain sense, it would do no good to run a large pipe to a building that can't handle. So we want to look beyond simply how do we help them with that lateral cost, but how do we help them with the other systems that they're going to tap into that
feasibility issue,
pipe, so they can actually take full advantage of it. All the way down into fire protection. If that's one of the key things we're going to use it for, is fire protection on the 4th floor of a building. Well, it's not good enough for us just to help them to the point of getting the lateral increase in size. It begins to get into the other development costs.
This is being asked out of ignorance of hydrodynamics and things. Would increasing a lateral to a building that has older plumbing increase the pressure that plumbing is under then?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't,
So
not only does it
not
do no good, it will do harm.
Okay. It's not just that they're not going to take advantage of it, it's that it could overstress their plumbing and cause stress.
Particularly when we're talking about buildings, we know how old the plumbing is.
I mean, it's probably still left.
Right.
So
okay.
on that one, however,
That would be bad.
That would be bad.
Can you talk more about the funding? You don't have to say what it is. Would it be loans or grants or what?
So we already have existing mechanisms in place to be able to do low interest or no interest loans to help with these kinds of things. that language already exists in our ordinances and in the configuration of the utility. Grants, of course, means you have to come up with the money.
Yeah.
Loans is one thing because that gets paid back. But if it's going to be a grant, then we start talking about, well, then where's that money going to come from?
Yeah.
So there's that. Related to Main Street, this is, as I'm trying to say, well, maybe leave the mechanics of that more to city staff. I think there's another topic for us to talk about on this construction project, which is, I'm going to call it continuity funding. How do we help businesses stay in business for the duration of this project? And they're going to run into cash flow problems and other things because of
That's very true.
What the project's going to drive in terms of people's behavior. And I think we need to find a way to be able to help, again, what I'm calling with continuity funding, so that they can stay in business. Most of these businesses already went through a year and a half never intended to be like, and bless them for finding somehow. Most of them found somehow to get through.
Yeah, a few didn't.
I'm sure some of them are still carrying a heavy weight because of it.
Yeah.
And throwing another heavy weight on top of that is not going to work.
No.
So, like, what can we do? What can we do? And this is
That's very foresighted, and I really do appreciate that. Just as a person that works out of the downtown area, Tony, that topic was to some degree needed on the bridge issue because of some of the. We tried to come up with a way to involve the developer or the contractor that was derelict, but we couldn't get that worked out as far as an agreement for a fund. This would be a loan, it sounds like, though, that they'd be paying back.
We need to figure it out. What does it look like? Again, is it loans? Is there some room for us to find grant funds? I'm not against going back to the state and saying, look, what happened there with the bridge? You got to help us on this.
Yeah.
Because if for nothing else, then it's a makeup for what you did there.
Sure.
You got to make good on what you didn't do and like bring something to the table here, folks.
Yeah, you're right.
So I just want to suggest that as something
but that's a very
they could really sink its teeth into, is figuring out what would this continuity funding look like.
It'd be great.
And where could we potentially get, if it's going to be grants, we can get funding for that.
But even if it was 1 or 2% or obviously zero, but those kind of numbers are, if they borrow money and they can pay it back at a later time just to hang in there at lower interest, then it's still a way of helping. And I think that's foresighted, it's proactive, and it's ideal that we are talking about it now.
Scenario of it's like some ways that furniture is sold, right? So it's 2 years interest free. Or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then it's still low interest after that, but there's a variety of mechanisms to look at billing. So just a suggestion on this is, I think city staff is already working on this whole aspect of the water line piece, the mechanics of it at least. I think we're going to need help in terms of engaging with it. Then what do you need beyond the lateral? And how can we begin to help with that?
Sure, and that was kind of the point of Deb reaching out to the other groups. You guys, like I said, you guys talk to Main Street businesses, every single building owners and businesses every day. So maybe just continue to work to find out what their needs are going to be when it should sound. So,
but then again, I just want to bring up this. I think this whole idea of the continuity funding, like there's a big gap right there.
Yeah, there is.
And if we learned nothing from the bridge other than this one topic, then let's learn from this on this one topic and do something different. And be ready.
But to Dave's point that he brought up earlier on the parking and the fact that we want to be foresighted on looking into the future in a way that encourages development of these buildings beyond what they are on the first floor, that anything we can do to incentivize that would be a great thing to do.
Yes, sir.
Can I add something on your water laterals, if I may?
Sure.
Looking at that as a cost perspective of just running all 4-inch lines into buildings. My building in particular, the main part we were raising these is to increase for sprinkler systems. I reached out to several sprinkler companies. They said the first thing that we need to do is establish what we're going to have in our business to establish a flow test from the city to see how much flow is coming into the building. We may have enough flow in some buildings based on the use that it has. Now, if we all increase the 4-inch lines and I do not, my flow that is currently there today is going to be extremely pressurized when you do that to the other buildings, which is going to cause my building to burst. So that's going to put stress on the entire system. So having that, like you say, the entire system in place is going to be vital, so we can run pressure gauges on the buildings inside that do not change their internal pipes when you increase the entire laterals down the whole street. Because it'll burst anybody's pipes that doesn't go with it, because their pressure is going to change on the 2-inch line.
What's that?
They're gonna have to have a pressure regulator on the buildings. Yeah.
So incorporating that as well is huge.
And Andrew did bring that up. Not trying to get too much into the weeds on the mechanics. I understand your point. I just wanted to make sure that whatever, when he was putting together a spreadsheet, which I'm guessing you guys are already done, that it's based on not current use, but potential use.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just for everything. You know, a building like Bill's building's massive, right? Does it need a 6-inch line, 8-inch line? I don't know. You know, that was what Andrew was trying to determine. And then obviously adjusting based on potential future use, not just current use.
It's a valid point.
It's a valid
Current
point.
Building piping, except a.
Yep.
A line.
Yep.
There is a meeting on March 16th called Main Street Matters at 6:30 at the Lions. But you're all welcome to attend. The intent is to have the Main Street owners there. And you can ask them directly what the issues are.
What's the date?
March 16th, sorry, I said May 16th.
March 16th. It's a Monday night.
Monday night at 6:30 at Lions. Fairly casual, but
For the-
Okay.
it's a good listening session.
All right. Anybody else on that? Okay, moving on. Review and take possible action on the sign grant materials. Everybody saw the application that. Did you adjust it, or is that the one made?
No, that's
the
one
That's the one.
because he had it reviewed by legal.
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, so it is the official document. Okay.
You need anything from us for tonight?
Yeah, we have to take action on it. That we're gonna start, so we can start using it.
Well, I can get the discussion going by saying I move that we approve the application as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Board, second by Mr. Arnett. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Start discussion.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. That's a long night.
Affected motion.
Most of it.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Communication social media report. Everybody got it in their packet?
I also sent around a proposed press release in the
Oh, that's right.
packet for
Yeah.
the March 1st launch. If folks had any comments or anything, otherwise we'll probably run with that.
I thought it looked good. Anybody have any issues with the press release?
No.
I think we're good on that.
You spell Ryan's last name right.
Oh, is it right?
Really? What's that?
Unless you.
In point of clarification, I think last month you all said this is not for Main Street outlet.
Correct. There's an extra E in there.
Oh,
Good catch. I didn't even catch that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
He answered, I said this is not for Main Street at the downtown district.
Correct.
right.
Do you need to identify my boundary lines so that if someone outside but appears to be in the downtown?
It would, can we just have that on the application or on the, where they would fill out the application, where the link for the application would be?
You want the map?
Yeah, you have a map,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
A link to it.
I mean, it says businesses located in the city's downtown historic are ineligible. Please inquire with the Watertown Main Street program about their sign up site grant programs for businesses located. So,
Yes, it's just not even on both sides, so I just don't want you to be.
Yeah, I think the map would be helpful.
Yeah, if we put it to the map.
Or sometimes three.
Or sometimes three.
Okay.
Depends on how I was feeling that day.
Sometimes he draws them.
Okay.
All right, now communication and social media report. Everybody got the latest one?
And Lisa, if you look at the bottom of the report, did a little recap from her engagement with you, if you all had a chance to look at her note at the end there. Anything else you want shared with her? Otherwise, I know she appreciated the time with you all and getting feedback.
I think her comment on LinkedIn for development,
Mhm.
I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a situation today that proved to me LinkedIn is valuable.
Okay. Mr. Berg, Mr. Arnett, town and council report.
There's covered.
Okay.
Let's see here on my topic. We had some good discussion. Christine Butter is telling us about her leaving that position and the void that it's going to create again. I think there was notes taken by people here to try to see where we can fill in the gap, but that is until we find a replacement for her, it's just going to put more burden on existing people that we have already doing things. But our Benson Square needs to have some oversight, and it needs to have people that are doing things to help make that not give a blighted type look or an inactive to a fault type look. So I'm concerned about it. I think we took notes. She obviously is helping where she can to pass the baton, but it is something that's real important for us to address because that location, because of where it is too prominent to not give attention to. It needs to have our eyes and ears looking at maintenance issues and programming issues where we can to keep it an asset for our town instead of a mistake, which we don't want it to be. There's too much money invested into that piece of land, which ties into the other part, which is that next block south, and the fact that that continues in sort of a in limbo type status, and we don't know what's going to happen to it, when it's going to have any kind of interest from a developer, if there is going to be. Otherwise, we've had presentations and discussion on giving it some type of an improved look, so it doesn't look blighted like it does now. And we have staff within our city that can do some things to it at a minimal cost, just to give it less concrete, maybe more eventual grass, and some degree of grading it in a way that gives it more of a look where it can be used. But ideally, if we could put some grass on that land, and if we could put some picnic benches and or tables or something there that looks like it's got a use in the meantime until something does happen. Because I think we had some fairly good discussion on the fact that it may be our best use for a continuation of Benson Square to some degree, with some inactive but still city oversight and city ownership, which it is now, in a way that's going to be more of an asset and less of an unknown than it is right now. So I think we need to talk about this on a continuing basis to come up with some kind of a plan that we have consensus on to do something with that piece of land. And I think it'd be fairly inexpensive to do some grading, to do some soil and grass seed, and put something there so that it looks like it's got a better look than it has now. None of us have a plan for it, other than the fact that we own it. So,
Anything else from the council meeting?
That would probably have to. Recommendations, maybe that commission needs to forward recommendations to the city as to that, doing anything on that property just adds greater workload for Park and Rec. So, it's not just let's clean it up and those plant grass seeds, somebody's gonna have to go cut it. So
Yeah.
you have to keep the trash out. Where are you gonna get the tables from, all that, so, with the budget.
I know, Steve, your point's well taken, that it's another task for Park and Rec does get overused. Because they are an easy department to look to for fixing problems and addressing some of our
Yeah,
needs, but
Ken, I'm not trying to upset you about it. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that just as we just sent a recommendation for David to make a presentation
Yeah.
to the council, perhaps the Park and Rec Commission should
Yeah.
put together a presentation on what they want to use the property for. Because again, I sat through the council of the whole conversation about 111 South Water, and there was definitely no consensus
No.
as to what to use that property for. And so maybe we need a short-term fix.
But if you ask Park and Rec, who's already burdened with the duties they have of current status, and you ask them to potentially get more involved in giving it an improved look, they're not going to volunteer and say, I can do it.
No. I'm saying there is a Park and Rec Commission,
Yeah,
correct? Right? They could make a motion that somebody get a bid, whether it's engineering or Park and Rec, would get a bid for cleaning up the site and planting grass seed. And then present it to the council and say, do you want to take whatever the number is out of the budget to do X?
Mhm.
Right? I don't know that, I mean, if you want us to do it, we can go out and try to get somebody to give us a price.
I don't want us to do it, but I think, again, I go back to RDA being sort of the ones that give direction and help other departments actually address the things that we feel are important.
Mhm.
And from our standpoint, I feel we'd be derelict if we let it just sit on a continuing for another year or two. So we should do something.
Okay.
And
It makes sense. If you're putting your house on the market, you're trying to attract a buyer, you're gonna trim the lawn, you're gonna trim the hedges, you're gonna try to make it look nice, better curb appeal. So certainly improving the curb appeal of the property to help attract buyers
Yeah.
isn't unreasonable. And if it's something that we can then get some value out of it as a city to use it, even if it's not planted with grass, even if it's just graded, we use it as overflow when we do the street events, parking, food trucks. Put the vans, park their cargo vans there, so they're not in the street, stuff like that. There's opportunities for us to
Yeah.
use it for existing city projects without having to mow the lawn and do all these other things. Just by grading it, leaving it as gravel, we can still get a lot more use. And it'll appeal the curb appeal or improve the curb appeal for financiers. So I think there's options.
so would this merit a discussion on an agenda item again for we're having it now. I just brought it up under our council, but do we want to do that or give some direction?
I mean, I kind of like Steve's point about Park and Rec Commission. What's their thoughts on it? Maybe we have Deb reach out to them to get their thoughts on it and then
Right.
talk about it next meeting.
Okay, all right.
Everybody okay with that? Hey, Executive Director report.
We, just as part of our annual, it happens every year, RDA goes through an audit, so we're going through that right now just to make you aware of that. We also been asked, to do a year in review, or a city publication that goes out to all the residents, so if you have ideas, I did send you a draft to take a look at, but if you have ideas of things that you're proud of from the past year that you would like to see highlighted, just send me an email. I'll make sure that is included. You might have be aware that we now have a new deputy treasurer, clerk, Lucy Peterson, who's helping out now. And getting to know her better via the audit. So some relief from Mark Stevens, who's been wearing multiple hats for a couple of months. Also with the Sobels and the line of credit, I was thinking we had a few volunteers. I'd like to reach out to our bank partners on that and just kind of reestablish a line of communication, because we really haven't had just a line of credit other than Sobel's in a while. And I just think, face to face, touch base, make sure,
I'm glad we go to those meetings with you.
okay. Uh, and I think, oh, the other thing, one of our bank partners, as we're transferring everything over, so I have check writing ability and the right people have access to all the accounts that the RDA has. One of our partner banks asked that it be reflected in the minutes that Ryan has the same access and check writing permissions that I do. And unless there's discussion on that, I'll just make sure that's included as part of the minutes that the board fully supports.
It's just for when you're out of town.
Okay. And just another thing, we're having ongoing conversations with Main Street and tourism. And the chamber about still this potential pitch contest and what that may or may not look like. And we did get an estimate back on that for our contact at UW Whitewater through the Renew Towns program. They've done similar things in Whitewater and Fort Atkinson and other areas, but we were throwing around some ideas about how the Watertown program might work if we move forward with that. So more hopefully more to come on that as we meet and try to navigate that. But I think it's exciting to build community connection around our main street and hopefully assist some entrepreneurs that the community gets behind to have their business join our Watertown Main Street. And that's all I have for you, unless you have questions.
Thank you very much. All right, again, any future items, please send them to Deb. Next meeting is until March 18th.
March what?
18th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Arnett, seconded.
Second.
Mr. Zimmerman, all in favor?
I
Have a good night, everybody.
You were late. What's county? Parking rec person, did you have that, please? The parking record Waterloo is looking at a new position. And I know that.
Park and